today's question was about what are the specific business advantages versus other approaches or versus not implementing Data Vault. What specific business problems Data Vault can solve? I think in general, a pretty interesting question, which we I think covered also in some other webinars and general stuff already, but still always a good topic to talk about and go in a little bit detail. So in general, maybe when we start, let's take a quick step back and start thinking about how companies handle their data. So many start with some Excel files, manual reports, maybe a couple of scripts pulling data from the operational systems. And then the business starts to grow, and over time, new tools are added, and they're essentially IT systems, IT infrastructure grows. So new tools are added. For example, Salesforce, SAP, web shops, API from partners, and suddenly companies are dealing with multiple system, inconsistent data definitions, or in general, inconsistent definitions in the data and new reporting requirements. And at this point, I would say most of the companies start to think about building a data warehouse. Maybe they already started before, and they starting to think about which approach to use and what are maybe the advantages of the approaches, especially advantages for the business, the decision makers who spend the money, right? And maybe you in the beginning you think about Kimball, Inmon style models, data vault, or you think we just need more we need the reports for this data. We don't need any models at all. But normally when people start, maybe they first think about Kimball or Inmon style data warehouses, which work well when the environment normally is stable. So when the business rules are clear, the sources are known, the requirements don't change often. This is where these models normally strive. But to be honest, this is not the world we live in anymore. Things change constantly, systems evolve, business rules get changed, we get new regulations. If it's GDPR, EU RE Act, there are so many new regulations coming up for data. You have internal audit demands, all this stuff, which sometimes comes out of nowhere, which adds requirements, changes to your source system. So it's not a stable environment anymore in data. Things change so quickly, so you need normally a more flexible model, and this is exactly the gap where Data Vault was designed to fill in the end. So we saw some problems with in general, in the founding, the founders of Data Vault saw problems with the traditional ways data warehouses were built, especially with new modern requirements, and this is where Data Vault came in to address some of these weaknesses. And I think one of the biggest point how Data Vault does this is essentially the separation of business logic and general source data, I would say. In Data Vault, most of you probably know, we capture all the data all of the time, and we enable full traceability back to the source, even when the environment changes. So we do not implement any business logic early in the War Vault or something like this. But let's go a little bit more detail. I brought some slides as well. Maybe what are the specific business advantages of Data Vault, or also some of the problem approaches. So let's start. So why Data Vault was developed. So in general, most of you probably know already Kimball and Inmon approaches. They are known for normalization, I would say, star modeling or star schema, and these are really easy to understand for users, right? These models, they are really straightforward, and they are pretty business friendly for reporting, especially the star schema for reporting. You see it a lot in information marts, still used in Power BI. So this is really great for reporting in general. It's pretty simple, and it aligns well with how business users think. The Inmon approach, for example, with normalization is really theoretical, robust. It makes a lot of sense to normalize your tables, but they have some big problems with them as well. and both of them are pretty rigid when it changes occur in the source systems, or new source systems come in, or when the business logic changes. And development of them a lot of times takes really long, especially, for example, with normalization. People start to tend, because this is what you need to do a little bit with normalization as well. You need to look at all of your data that you have. You need to create this huge data model, which is, covers essentially your whole business. It takes a long time to develop it, then to implement the model really in a database, right? To have something to show. And then you can at some point maybe deliver some business value. And this is not the thought with Data Vault. Data Vault is more focused on the business early and often, and Data Vault was in the end built for change, for scalability, for auditability, and for the support of automation. And I think this is the big difference and business advantage Data Vault has, especially with today's requirements that you have. And maybe data vault is not directly meant for direct reporting. I mean, the especially not the modeling. It is more the data vault modeling itself is a more technical modeling, but it was built to handle change, scale, and compliance reasons. And in the end, in data vault, we also use the star schema, right? We just build it in the information marts a little bit later. So yeah, I think data vault in the end hits pretty much the sweet spot between these models. And I also brought some reasons why I think it is really valuable from a business perspective. So let's take a closer look at that. And the first one for me is business value first. I talked about it shortly already. Um, at Data Vault, we really focus on business value. When you start a project, you always start with a report. So we think about one maybe really important report that you want to build. For example, a sales report. And then we look, okay, what source data do we need? And we build the whole data warehouse for this one um, report. So essentially, we build the raw vault, we build the business vault, implement business logic there, and in the end, build the information marts on top. So you have something you can use really, really quickly in 2 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks. You have a report that business users can see, they can use, and you have a first test for your model. And this is what we call the tracer bullet approach. Most of you probably know it who have worked with Scalefree before or watched some of our content. Um, you build something simple, testable, and real, and then you extend the model incrementally. And this is really a really big benefit of Data Vault. This is also where the second point comes in. We're really flexible. So this is why we can use this tracer bullet approach. We don't need to build this huge model up front and model everything because we are normalizing everything. And if we forgot something, we get a huge problem and need to remodel and change everything. This is not the case with Data Vault. Because we use hub links and satellite, um, the model is really, really flexible. So you can handle change, you can extend your model gradually over time, you can add stuff, you can add new source systems, you can just start with a small part and then add entities over time. Because in Data Vault we work yeah, like I said, with hub links and satellites. So you just extend the model by adding new links, new satellites to your model, and have no problem with that. So that is a huge benefit. The next one is the automation, and therefore it's fast, right? So, what does that mean? Data vault models, they are, or data vault entities, they are all standardized. So they all look the same. You don't have it like normal, with, for example, normalization, where every table looks different. And you need to write the loading pattern for every of the tables and all this stuff. In Data Vault, every hub looks the same or has the same structure at least, right? The columns can change, the business keys change, but with satellites, right, the describing attributes change, but the structure is the same. So what that does for you, it's completely automizable. Uh, maybe not the correct English word. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah, you can automate it completely, and you don't need to really code this stuff anymore. There are tools out there that help you. We talk about them a lot here at Scalefree. We have some really cool webinars with our partners as well. Just to mention some, there's Squarescape, DBT, Data Vault Builder, Coalesce. There's so many cool tools out there that help you to automate your data vault so that your developers can, focus really on delivering the business value and the business rules, which mostly is the hard part in projects, and not so much focus on developing the raw vault or the business model, which people don't use, right? The business uses the information marts. They want reports. They want dashboards. They don't want to talk about the data model. And yeah, this is where automation comes in. Your developers get much quicker. It's not so error prone because it's automated, right? So a huge benefit there, in my opinion, for the business as well. Even though sometimes you need to sell it to the business, right? If the business users don't understand what that means, automation, if you just talk, yeah, data was automatable. Yeah, you need to explain a little bit, right? Um, the next part is auditability or auditable. Every record in Data Vault is essentially fully traceable back to the source system. You have load dates, you have source information with the record source, and we track all the historic data as well and changes in the data. So essentially, yeah, your data warehouse becomes fully auditable, um, which is a huge thing nowadays. We have easy solutions with GDPR splitting for example, GDPR. Uh, yeah, so for compliance as well, I think they go hand in hand, auditability and compliance. So yeah, because we store the raw data like it is, essentially, and first do the business calculations and cleanup of data a little bit later in the process in data vault. We have all the data, how it came, how it arrived in the data warehouse, and we can be fully auditable and compliant. And I think this is a huge benefit nowadays, especially with more regulations coming in and everybody wants to use AI. You need clean data. You need to be compliant. You need to prove to auditors and so on that you are compliant. The last point for me is future proof. Yeah, because the architecture is so decoupled and separated separates the logic from the raw data. Um, the system grows essentially with your business, so you have no problems of growing your data warehouse over time, and it's just with all the features I just mentioned, really, really future proof. Also, we have solutions for AI already with Data Vault. We can really easily change to newer technologies. Right when Data Vault came out, the standard was having a traditional staging area, and build your data warehouse from there. If you watch our webinars nowadays, I would say the more standard approach probably is having a data lake in place as a staging area, which is really nice for data science and AI features as well. So yeah, Data Vault is just really future proof, and helps you guys to build the data warehouse of the future and not something from the past in the end, right? Just short, I don't want to go into detail, but I think it's a big difference as well that we have with Data Vault. It's not just a model. A lot of people, when they talk about Data Vault or think about Data Vault, they think about the Data Vault model, right? The modeling part, hubs, link, satellite, all of this, which is a big part. But we also bring in the architecture. I talked about it right now, which supports real time, which supports NoSQL, which is scalable and multi-tier. You have an architecture with Data Vault that you can use and leverage and really work with to find your own best solution in the end, and just have a guide at your hand. And you have the methodology, how to implement it, how to work with Data Vault, trace a bullet approach, get business value fast. So it's for me much more than just the modeling part of Data Vault. One thing I also want to say, maybe it's not for everyone, right? I don't want to sell the idea of Data Vault to you guys. I just think it's the best option out there for sure. But maybe when you are a really small company and you don't have a lot of requirements, don't have a lot of data sources, you also maybe don't need to overkill it, right? That always depends from project to project to company to company. and you should in the end access what are your requirements and see how it goes. We also built some really nice data platforms without data vault here at Scalefree. So it's not a given that you always need that, right? Just wanted to mention that. So I hope I could help you with the answer to that question. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great Friday, great weekend, and see you next week.